Hello and welcome everybody. It feels damn good to be back after a few weeks away of moving house. I'm out of the old one into the new one. I had some internet dramas, but I am back and I'm looking forward to sinking my teeth into some ACC. I know it's a day late and a dollar short, but better late than never, I guess. Anyway, let's get into it. Much like my beginner's info video, and thanks for the support and welcome to the new subs from that vid by the way, I want to try and get some information out there that might help people new to the game or even new to sim racing, especially now that it has just launched on consoles. There are a lot of people migrating across from Gran Turismo Sport or Forza, which is awesome. This is a mad game and it would be awesome to see full lobbies for years to come. But as the title suggests, I want to discuss setups. Please note though that if you are looking for some advanced setup guides, this won't be the video for you. But if you have any further tips or things I miss, then please feel free to share your wisdom with everyone down in the comments below. So unlike something like GT Sport, where setups are fixed and just aren't something most people ever think about, they can be a pretty vital part of not only generating pace and winning races, but just simply feeling comfortable in the car, making sure you're in control and not clinging on for dear life every lap. If you know nothing of setting up a car, then the whole process can be pretty daunting, but don't despair. The dudes at Kunos don't want people to feel alienated and overwhelmed because they're not a mechanical engineer and suspension expert, so they have provided 3 pre-made setups for every car at every track. We'll start with the wet setup. Now, you really don't need to use this setup until the weather is considered at least medium rain. Anything less than that and you're better off on a dry setup, just maybe make a few changes to help keep the tyre temperatures up. Wet setups are generally softer suspension and sway bars to help increase mechanical grip, lower brake pressures to stop lockups, and of course increase traction control, ABS, etc. Anyway, if it's raining, use this one. Most of the time, you will of course be racing in the dry, and this game gives you the option of 2 setups, safe and aggressive. Now, I get why they call these setups safe and aggressive, and I wouldn't say the names are unjustified, but I would like to emphasise that the names can be a little misleading. In my opinion, the 2 setups are less about being safe and aggressive and more about catering to different driving styles. I've seen a lot of people assume that safe means slow and aggressive means fast. This is not necessarily the case, and depending on your personal preference as a racer, you may be able to drive both setups perfectly safely but generate much more speed out of the setup named safe. Now, to help muddy the water even further, none of these setups are automatically generated by a computer. They are all created by an actual real person, which is a good thing. The problem is, not all setups are made by the same person. I have no idea exactly how many people created these setups, nor what tracks and cars particular people made, but ultimately that doesn't really matter. Now, I haven't actually digressed here, I will get back to this point in a second. So, aggressive or safe setup, what should you be using? The best way I can summarise is that the safe setup generally has more understeer and a more planted rear end. You may have to brake a little earlier, turn in a little bit slower, and you'll have to run a slightly lower mid-corner speed to stop the understeer. So what are the advantages to a setup like this? Well, you may have to brake earlier, but you will lock up a lot less. Your mid-corner speed may be slower, but you can be so much more confident in the rear end. You won't get it wiggling around under brakes, and you'll be able to plant the welly into the throttle pedal harder and earlier. You'll also get less lift-off oversteer, meaning the back end flicking out when off throttle. See Blanchimont. The aggressive setup, on the other hand, tends to be more on the nose, but that comes at the expense of rear end stability. You'll probably be able to brake a little bit later and a bit harder, but the rear may wriggle around a bit in the braking zone. The car will respond much faster on turn-in and provide more grip mid-corner, but again, your ass may want to step out of line and can be downright feisty when applying the throttle on the exit. So to answer the question of which setup should you use, well, it comes down to you. Are you better dealing with oversteer or understeer? But what about tyre wear, Chunko? Well, it's going to depend on how you handle the setup. Typically, the aggressive setup will generate higher tyre temps, which increases wear. But if you're struggling to deal with the front end of the safe setup and just understeering through every corner, well, that slip is also going to generate tyre temp and increase wear. Speaking personally, I grew up riding motorbikes and playing Formula 1 games, so I'm a front end guy. I want the front of the car to do exactly what I ask, exactly when I ask it to. I'm happy to deal with an unstable rear end and a handful of oversteer to avoid having to cope with understeer, which I struggle to manage. Other people can't deal with oversteer and are much happier and faster with an obedient rear end. So to finish off, I want to bring us back to my earlier point about different people creating different setups at different tracks in different cars. You will likely find some consistency issues. You may find the aggressive setup at Suzuka in the Porsches brilliant, then when you go to Spa and use the aggressive setup again, you'll find it undrivable. But suddenly the Lambo, which might have been a pig at Suzuka, is suddenly amazing at Spa. Nothing we can do about that, just making you aware of it. For what it's worth, I do think in the hands of an expert, the aggressive setup is capable of generating more pace than the safe, but I'm also tipping there are no experts here watching this video for advice and using default setups. Don't worry about them, you just do you. Now, if anyone is still here watching this, thank you very much for sticking around. If you did enjoy the video, please remember to leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike, and please leave your tips or experiences in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.